scoop. It's Halloween week, guys. Even though you're seeing this
In a week.
but it's hat day. We like to dress up. Where's your hat, Melissa?
I failed to get the reminder telling me that it was hat day, so I can go get one if you want me to.
Oh, well, maybe we might have to pause.
All right. Well, if you want to pause, we've got hats upstairs.
Okay, and we'll just
Pause.
get a hat. Let's see.
Okay. I'm really gonna get a hat. I will go
I
get a hat.
am curious what hat she's gonna. I know. I am very curious.
What
By
hat?
the way, I'm Farah. I'm Nicole. And we're really excited for Melissa to come back with her hat because we are going to talk about OBM. And when she gets back, she'll explain what that is. Okay, ready? Carmen, you can input some music into this part.
Jeopardy music?
Yeah,
You're talking about Jeopardy.
Yeah, I was trying to do Jeopardy.
Yeah. Great.
That will... Oh, look, it's a Santa hat. Oh, it's a Santa hat. This is so fun. All right, so this is Melissa. We're very excited to have her join our fun podcast on OBM. Melissa, can you explain what OBM is?
So OBM is Organizational Behavior Management. Is it management?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I have my book. Nope, that's not the right book. Yes, it is.
I also love this book that she loves that we're gonna maybe we can talk a little. Oh, look at all this, you guys. Look at all this. So what made you want to learn about OBM and why does it relate to ABA? Like what's the whole deal with that?
So I guess I feel like it is like it is like ABA for like the staff. So it is really looking at like reinforcing staff and motivating staff in the same using the same principles that we would with our clientele and just making strategic systematic changes. Looking a lot at data analysis, making sure that we are making slow changes and that you're only changing one thing at a time so you can see if it's effective. And really just making big improvements for the whole organization.
That's awesome. Yeah, love that. So what have you done as far as training? Like what can you describe a little bit about like how you went to was it a conference? Is that what it was?
It was
Or
a
did
like on your own virtual like certificate group. So kind of went through and broke down all the different areas, different diagnostics that you can use, showed you how to use the workbook. It does have like a lot of specific, you're supposed to have committees that are meeting to analyze the data and collecting the data and getting information from the actual like people that are doing the job as well to see what they feel like the change potentially needs to be as well, so that you're getting enough information from all aspects on how that's affecting their
Oh,
job
okay.
and things like that.
And that's a yearly thing that you go back to do, right?
No, there are different like levels of certificates. Like one of
Oh,
them, like this one is just like the general one, giving you general principles. Theoretically, there would be another certificate where you actually would need to go on the job training, um,
got it.
where you actually have like a specific thing that you're doing with your
Okay.
organization, and that is what you are doing all of the work around. So you're getting like that practical
Okay.
aspect of it.
Awesome. Well, I'm really interested in just learning a little bit more because it's like about your systems that you're putting in place, right? With and seeing if that system is effective based off of results from the staff, right? Or
Right.
outcomes. And you're, like you said, you're doing one thing at a time, one target, one goal, just to make sure to see if it's effective or not, if you're getting what you need or not, which I think we're getting better
We
at
are.
doing
We
that.
are.
And that brings in MVC and ACT too, because this all kind of goes together as far as slowing things down, making sure you're really getting to the need. And so everybody, we've been talking about MVC, nonviolent communication or compassionate communication, and then ACT, it all kind of it's like a circular, like it all goes together. And the important thing that we're trying to do is to slow down, really get the need before we put in the strategy, which is what I'm thinking. Would you explain how that does tie in with what we're trying to do, OBM, with those kind of techniques and
Yeah.
everything? Yeah.
So I'm opening up my book on the side over here. And so it does have like the space there, the OBM, the module that I did looks at the space model. Model. So they actually have like 5 phases of
Okay.
looking at something. So again, it is much, much more broad and broken down. You got your scope and looking at that part of it, pinpointing what exactly you're going to do,
Okay.
assessing it, changing it, and then embedding it. So then that's that last piece of making sure that if it did work and you did have that change, that you're embedding it so that it maintains and you're not
Makes
getting that
sense.
short increase and then that goes away right away because we didn't truly embed it very well. And looking at that OBM model, if you are using nonviolent communication and you're getting that need met, all of that's gonna help us when we're pinpointing and where is that need and where is the scope, and when we're assessing it, we're making sure that we are getting everybody invested in what we're doing. And that's one of the main reasons I really liked that other book that you had held up, that the positional authority ain't leadership, because they use a lot of like ACT and nonviolent communication within that book, within that programming, and really making sure that they're getting the motivation
That's awesome.
behind the
Yeah.
people doing it.
It's just really exciting. The thing that we really remind each other as we do meetings, as we go through whatever it is like, because we want to put in strategies immediately because we want to fix it. Like that's like our mind, right? And so what I love about it is that, when we were talking about something that we were just talking about and just a little while ago, or actually even last week, is we were like, okay, so but what's the real need that we're wanting? Like what's that need? Because we immediately went to strategy and then we backed up, and then we talked about it and then we kind of broke it down. And then, so just, I think my major thing is just to keep being present and looking objectively and slowing everything down. So we don't feel like we need to go and do a strategy right away, because I think that we're constantly trying to get it done, check it off, get it done, check it off, get it done, check it off. So this whole process, I think, is very helpful. And Melissa, the thing that we did in staffing that like a month or two, I don't remember when it was, a little while ago, with the personalities and like all of that stuff. Is that OBM? Is that all embedded in that, or what is exactly was that?
I
Because
mean,
I
that
thought
one
that was
wasn't
cool.
that wasn't more specific. That wasn't necessarily OBM, but that was more related to ACT and
Okay.
that nonviolent communication, I think, aspect of it. Because again, you're looking at like how people interact and process and values. So you're bringing the values of the company, which we're really good at making sure that we've got the values and that our values are matching, their values and strengths. And you're really looking at like your strengths. It was all strengths based. It had nothing to do with weaknesses. It was like, what are your stronger strengths and what are your lesser strengths?
Okay.
Which I like that it focused on them just from a purely positive view as well, and that you can build up each other's strengths.
That was super interesting too. For me, that was really like really getting to, because in NVC and ACT, and I would assume OBM too, is it's really based off of like, not that there's anything wrong. Like in NVC, I always think and really try to live like there's no right or wrong. It's really what we want to move forward with. So that's what that reminds me of. So when we were doing these personality things and seeing like what our strengths were, right? We take those strengths and we want to, really embrace everybody's authentic self. I know we've heard that over and over again, but it really rings true if to live like that, of like, okay, so you have a quieter person, right? And you have a person like me that's loud and like, like everything's funny and whatever. How do you make those two work together? How do you encourage those to not marry? Well, that really does happen. I mean, like work together, right? To be able to say, okay, are these two going to be harder to work together because you're really loud and this person's, or is that a good match based off of values, based off of kind of the whole thing? And I think that's what was super interesting to me is, again, there's no right, like Nicole, you like it, you do it this way, and Farah, you do it this way. It's not right or wrong. It's your personality. It's what your strengths are. You guys see what I'm saying? Like that, I think
Yeah.
and then I think of ACT. So do you want to explain a little bit about ACT too, with kind of all of that and how we really try to do like no right or wrong as far as this is how we communicate, this is what we do, this is your personality, this is my personality, and how do we make it a positive way to communicate and move forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the point of like engaging like strengths. So you sent out like a strengths assessment. And so what we did as a team was like, how do those strengths contribute to like the greater team piece? And how can we lean on one another or have ability in each other to like meet the overall like objectives of like either the group or the organization. And so I think it all kind of like intertwines because you have like these like intrinsic motivators, and you also have like your own core set of values. And then you also have the company's values. So how does that all intertwine and be cohesive? So I think that's what I really liked about like the exercise that we did with strengths, because we will go back to those too and say, okay, so who had this strength? Like, for example, like I'm a like doer. Like I don't really think too hard about decisions I make and I just go and do it, right? Which can be good and bad. And so I need my people to say like, okay, hold on, like did you think about this? Did you think about this? And I'll be like, okay, yeah, great point. Like you need those other people to build teams. And that's what we're trying to do is build these teams that work really nicely together by their motivation, their strengths, etc.
That was, you said that way better than I did. But the other thing you don't like to do is repeat. So like the thing that's really good too is when we're doing something, I'm like, Nicole, did we do this before? Or what did we do? I feel like we've done this before. So like, and then James, like, we need this done by this time, and it's gotta be black and white, so we know it goes to James. Melissa, we need authorizations. What does this mean? Or where does this code go? Or what? And you're like, well, let me ask Kelly. Like we know where like it goes and where the strengths are. And I look at our teams, like each team, and you really do need specific things. Otherwise, it gets heavy on one area. It goes too fast, or it's not going fast enough, or so I think it's so fun because it really just looks at like just your strengths. And I think about, I know Melissa, you're gonna laugh because you're gonna know what I'm talking about, but like Melissa had paired me with somebody and she says to me, just watch, because I know what's going to happen here, because she knew the strengths, right? So I'm sitting down and I'm talking with this person, and the way that this person processed was like, he sat back and he had to process it and then think about it, and then he came back later with a great answer. She's like, I knew that was going to happen. That's why I put him with you, because I'm more like, okay, like totally different. So it was just kind of cool because she did it on purpose. Melissa did it on purpose, and then was like, that worked exactly how I thought it was. So it just it was just cool to see that, because then like it's okay. That person just is more of a thinker and a absorber, and then comes back, and says what he needs to say, or doesn't want to do it in a certain way. So like it's good to know that about somebody.
I think it's about accepting that too.
Yeah.
Like accepting that like this is the person, and if they process this way, like that's where the right and wrong comes in. Like it's not that there's a right or wrong way to like process information, or a right or wrong person, right? There just is. So being accepting of like other people on your team can open your doors and your growth to like what could be. So
I've been really trying to work hard on like what is reinforcing to people. So I'll send like, I'm like, I am really excited about this aspect that this person just did. And so I've been telling Charmaine, I'm like, or telling Nicole, I'm like, how do they like reinforcement? Because I don't want to shout out to the entire organization. Like that's not overly, and I know that that's actually kind of punishing for some of our people.
Yeah, yep,
So I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to, I want to encourage this behavior in the future.
right.
And how would they like praise? And so I'm just really been trying to incorporate and send it out to the people that need it and how they
That's
like.
a really good point, because I
Mhm.
learned my lesson on two when we were doing Spotlight. And I had some people say, I don't want this. I don't want this. And so some people were not even I didn't even put them out there because they said no. And then some people said, I don't want them on the public page. It's fine internally. Because I said, the thing that's important is if you know, and you want me just to send you something to say, I appreciate you, that's totally cool. Part of this too is the awareness of who does what in the company. Because that's nice too, just so somebody knows where to go and that kind of stuff. And so then I had two people say, okay, then you can just do the internal page. That's fine. I get that, but I really don't want it public. So that was kind of a learning experience too, is it really is aversive to some people. And it cringes. It makes me think of that same person with the birthday stuff.
Mhm.
You know, and how he literally said, they sung happy birthday to him, made a big deal of it. Everybody's kind of laughing, whatever. And he goes, just so you know, I'm calling in next year. And I'm like, wow, was that like, that's like, for me, I'm like, everybody, it's my birthday. Let's birthday, you know, and like, it just shows you how different people are, you know, and it really can be a serious thing of like, now I'm really uncomfortable and and nobody did it to make that person uncomfortable. I'm just saying like, look at the impact that it potentially had. So anyway,
But
I
also
really
with
good
that
point.
said, but he also felt comfortable enough to say I'm calling in next year. Like that to me also like
That's
again,
true.
one of
Yeah.
my thing is like hope and like looking at the future. I'm like, but he felt comfortable
That's
to
true.
communicate that wasn't super punishing for an individual
Right.
but
That's
the
a good
intentions are
point.
going to be next year. So like just my actions, my action plan for next year is to not be here.
Right. I think I just don't really want any of this, so I'm gonna call in. But you're right, because if that would have been maybe 2 years ago, it would have been nothing and no communication. So that's the point too, that I am constantly saying is when somebody actually communicates to you and says it and you don't like it, that's still okay because they're communicating to you and they're telling you, you know, what it is. That's the whole point of this. Otherwise, people stop communicating. It can't be just all like, you know, what is that saying? Roses and sunshine. So, yeah. Is that even a saying?
I don't know, but that's
Okay, it sounds good. So I think that that's good too. Does ACT pull into that? Like, what would you say about that piece as far
Well,
as
like self and
communication?
context, I feel like does because I mean, yeah, it does pull into that because how you view yourself or how you think about yourself, and how you portray that to like other people is the self as context like realm.
Okay,
Um,
so can you explain that a little bit more?
yeah, so like if I say that I'm like a shy person, like
Oh.
something that we would do is we would say like, well, what is shy? And like what is that word? Like sometimes we tact our own like self with adjectives,
Okay,
and that's not what we are.
right,
Like I'm not shy because what is shy?
right,
Like
because shy to me and shy to you is probably different,
yeah,
potentially different.
yeah.
Okay,
So those are just some things that we like work with people on like their identity and how they identify themselves. Um, because yeah, a lot of times you say like I'm a mad person or I'm a like what
we're back.
we're back.
We're not,
Hey,
huh?
I said hi.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
All right, what were you saying?
Oh, I was talking about self as context and how like we tact ourselves as adjectives, and that's not like who you are because what are adjectives? They're not nouns,
So
right?
then what do you do? Like, what would you like?
So we do like different exercises where like we make the negative things that we say about ourselves into like positives or into like funny kind of like things. Like I'm dumb, we might put to like a funny lyric or song so that it holds less weight and value.
Oh,
So you can get past that.
so like you sing it with a happy song, like,
Yeah.
like,
Like, oh, you're dumb, and then we sing like, I don't know, like
don't worry,
Wheels on a
happy.
Bus with it
Oh,
or something,
okay.
you know, like yeah,
Yeah.
like something that just, and it's not that it changes how like
Oh,
it's not meant to change the person. It's meant to identify with like who you truly are versus like the adjective and take those adjectives and make them into what they are
oh,
because they're not people.
right. Interesting.
So it's a whole series of things that
That is super interesting. So Melissa, is there anything that, I mean, I know that's a little bit probably different, but is there anything that correlates with that or that what would you say about that? I know this is a little bit different, but I was
It is
just
a little bit
curious if
different.
you
I
had
mean,
anything to add.
I think the hard, what I think what's OBM, I think is it's a little bit more,
For
it's a longer
systems.
process, I think, than we're used to
Mhm.
doing. Like we are getting better at slowing down at Sonnenberg, but we're not slowing down to the level that we should be to do a true OBM.
Yeah. Are we getting there?
I think we are getting there.
Yeah.
We
I mean,
are,
we would have more like formalized like systems as far as like church, like I think of like strategic planning. And so like we do have with some areas, but like I know we had our operations lead Liz like also take like one of our KPIs and basically make like a behavior intervention plan for that KPI where we try like one intervention for X amount of time and then see what the outcomes are before we do anything else with it. So I think like we're slowly on that track of like pinpointing these areas and then planning for them.
yes. And I think that I think with the act and the NVC and holding and our value of accountability. I mean, I think we are also getting better at that part of it too. We're like, I feel like in the past, something we didn't feel like something worked. Like we put something in place and we didn't necessarily feel like it worked. And so instead of getting more clarity on why it's not working or
Let's change it.
doing some like just making sure that it's the people are accountable for it. We're like, oh, it must be too hard for them. And so we just changed it instead of just like again getting that I think the clarity piece is what we've doing the best on right now, where we are asking for more information on like, well, what do you need with that? How do you need that? How is that working for you? Why is it not working for you? What barriers are preventing you from doing it this way? And I think there are definitely some areas that we've then okay, that's not working. But then there's some where we're like, we have to figure out how you're gonna make this work. Like this is how this system needs to work. And we're holding people accountable for some of those things a little bit more. And so then we are getting better protocols in place with holding people accountable for certain things.
I think there's a lot to say as it relates to like motivation and reinforcement of like individual people, especially as we put these processes in place. Because when you put processes in place and you hold people accountable for them, there's not always buy-in to those processes and those systems and like the whys behind them. So I think that like it's also about, yes, describing those. And I think that's where our other processes kind of come in place. But OBM also talks a lot about like motivation, reinforcement, how that's delivered, especially as it relates to like burnout and things of that nature. And how we kind of like incorporate all of that because you could have a process, but then if you don't have any buy into that process, then people aren't going to do it.
Right.
That is so true.
And I think that again, with
Yeah.
that clarity, like where we're getting information on why it's not working for them and also telling them like how it works for the person that's requesting it. Like that request, like I'm requesting that you send me a task on this and not a message. And the reason is when you send me a message and I unread it, or I can't get to it right now, or you ask me 3 things in the message, if I answered 1 or 2 of them, I might not remember to finish. So now I've lacked integrity for you because I didn't answer your question. But if it had been sent in a task, it would have been done because it would have been a single thing by itself in a completely different area that I have broken down and I do on this specific day at this specific time, and messages just get lost. So like some of like that aspect of it, and when people understand that, then that helps. Or like they'll send a message and be like, cool, can you send that to me in a task? Like, and I don't do it from the message. I'll do it from the task. And then that's working. And then I'm getting the task, and then they're getting their needs met. I'm getting my needs met, and then the process is working.
And what we would have done in the past is, oh, that's not working. Let's do this strategy. And we wouldn't know the why. We wouldn't know why not, or why it is, you know, either way. And then we would just, so that's the change that people talk about, right?
Yeah, that is the change people talk about. And I think that like how the other processes like play a part in that is that you go back to like, it's all perspective taking too. So it's not just like there might not be a like flaw in the process. It's about the people implementing the process. And so what are their needs? And it goes back to like purpose, intention, and commitment, which are the foundational pieces of NVC. And so it goes back to understanding the person and like perspective taking in that versus like there's an error in this process, so we're just going to change that because that might not be it.
Well, and I think that the commitment piece is big because that's integrity. The integrity piece of like, this is my commitment to you, Nicole. I'm going to get this done by November 1st at 3:00. And then if November 1st is approaching and I'm like, oh, I haven't quite finished that, it's part of me to communicate back to you, one of our values of November 1st at 3:00. I had 2 other things that took priority. Are you okay? Again, a request of moving this to the 3rd, because I could do that on the 2nd and I could finish up this last piece. And then you would, you know, obviously respond and we would agree again. So it's that constant communication back and forth, accountability. And that those are all those integrity checks as we move forward too.
Yeah. Do you have something due to me the first?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Oh, by the way.
Sorry, I tried to throw a joke.
Well, no, too, like, I mean, looking back at your OBM and your reinforcement. So in the past too, if somebody had sent me a message and I wanted it in a task and I did it from the message, and I could have been like, yes, I did that. Next time, send me a task. Now I've reinforced them sending me a message and getting it done that way. So even though my request was for next time, because I did it from the message, they're like, what was I supposed to do? I don't know. I sent her a message last time and it worked.
Yeah,
That's true.
So like that
That's
aspect of like that
very-
accountability of, nope, this is not my process, and I need you to do it in. And yes, there's grace. I mean, we're gonna give grace at sometimes too. So like I might do it occasionally for like, I know that person's super overwhelmed and I am going to do it. I'm going to say, I am going to do it this time. Next time, send me a task. And every once in a while, I am going to reinforce that. And that's okay.
Right. Well, and that's part of our values, and our, you know, in MVC too, is that grace piece of that, you know, it's again, like the why is that happening? So if I know Nicole has 10 things due today, I probably am not going to say, oh, here, get this done by 3:00, you know, those kind of things. Or if something doesn't happen and it normally does, I may say, Nicole, you know, can we talk about this piece? You know, and we would communicate about that because there's usually, I mean, there's always a why, not usually, there is always a why. So finding out and reaching out about that too, again, communication. I mean, it's everything.
A lot of people's intention is, and I'm saying a lot, is not to like not do something,
right?
Or to like purposely like miss deadlines. Like that's, and when you come from a perspective of like, let me understand that person rather than tell them what they've done wrong, it changes like how you interact with people. Because you will find their intentions, and oftentimes their intentions are not bad or evil intentions.
Right.
So,
and that's why I think it's good just to state that. What's your
Yeah.
intention?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of what we're doing and what's your commitment? And you just end with that. That's been a game changer too. It's like, again, that reflection, that piece of what do we, because we talk about a lot.
Mhm.
I mean, look about our meeting today. I was like, we talked about like 15 things. Is this where, can I summarize?
Mhm.
Can I go over what I think that we ended with? Because this is a continuation meeting and we needed to finish it. And so we had to kind of like recap. That's important too, where I think 10 years ago, I would have been like, did they hear, like, I think I heard that right, and then you kind of just do what you think you were supposed to do, and it wasn't at all, because I took a different piece than you did from that meeting. You're like, this is what was important to me, or what was my piece, so I took this, and it's not at all what I was thinking was gonna happen. So that reflection and that summary at the end, intention, purpose, and commitment, I think is a total game changer, to be honest with you. That's been a really good add, I would say. We totally took over this meeting, Melissa. So with our ACT and our MVC, but it all feeds into OBM, and those systems, and what works, what doesn't, and how we continue to move forward. It'd be interesting to do this in a year to see where we're at. Because I mean, even our last week meeting, it was cool, because we were able to really dig down to very specific things where we would have never been able to do that even a year or 2 years, 3 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
Like last week when we were talking about specific things, and we were able to actually sit and all kind of talk about it.
Mhm.
And everybody's a little bit different
Mhm.
and sees it in a different department. That's also very
Yeah.
cool. Because I'm gonna see it different than Melissa's gonna see it, and then you're gonna see it, so I think that's really cool too.
I think we've also been addressing like the larger issue. Like it's not like on an individual level. It's like, it's a larger grand scheme of things.
Big picture.
And like the big picture, like where does that fall?
I think we're getting better at being proactive instead
Yeah.
of not putting out as many fires. We're preventing the
Well,
fire.
and not make the fires, like even if there's something,
Not
right? But I mean,
Yeah.
last year we've been like, oh, this is a fire, and it's really not a fire. It's really like, it's really not a fire. And actually, that's not really important at this moment. Let's talk about this thing, because this is a little bit more important. I think that's what you're talking about, and kind of scaling, like stepping back and looking at everything like, okay, so what is really the bigger thing?
Yeah.
Because it affects all these 5 things that Melissa's talking about, that I'm talking about. It's actually this, and
That's what I'm talking about.
and it comes down to this.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this bigger thing can actually like affect all of these pieces. So if you focus on this, then all of the other pieces like fall into place, rather than having like, I guess my only way to describe it is like tunnel vision on this one like challenge.
Because you're gonna have your thing
Yeah.
that you want to focus on potentially, Melissa. So that really does, which is why I love those meetings, because it really scales it back up to what's the big picture. Isn't that OBM though? Isn't that what we're?
It is really looking at like that big picture and the organization as a whole and how it's being managed. And
Well, look at that value. Growth mindset. And problem solving. Like, we're amazing. Look at these values that we have worked out.
And that is really like, especially in that other book that's got that organizational one too, like it really does talk about the values of the company. Yes. So it is values based as well. There's like, there's
there it is.
Yeah, see? I feel like that's a really good encompassing all of the things that we do. ACT, nonviolent communication, and OBM is a nice little group. He's got a podcast too.
Really? Oh, that's nice. I might have to look at that. Yeah, this is really cool. We'll look at here. That's crazy. So the values and like that they give as examples: respect, quality, adaptability, teamwork, accountability is some of the ones in here that it talks about, which I think that rolls into quite a bit. I really like the flexibility as a value, actually. Maybe we should. I just like flexibility.
Maybe we should think
I really like flexibility.
Yeah, I really like that too.
I just do, because you've got to be flexible. You've got, I mean, like it's like being uncomfortable with how to say that? Being comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That is just like my whole theory of life.
Does flexibility go into like growth mindset though,
That's
like
what I was
into
gonna say.
other values,
Probably.
right? Because like if you are not flexible or you're not comfortable with the uncomfortable or don't put yourselves in some of those
I
situations,
think you're right.
then are you demonstrating growth mindset?
That's probably what we
Or
did when we laid
pragmatic.
it all out. We probably
Yeah.
had flexibility and said, "Ooh, this points to growth mindset."
Yeah.
Because we had like hundreds of, like a lot of different, because how you start with this, anyone that's listening and wants to know how to get values, instilled, is you really just brainstorm and you put down like anything that comes to mind,
Mhm.
and then you start to group them and what's like a main word. So that's very true. That probably was underneath there, because
Mhm.
flexibility is.
And honestly, pragmatic solution oriented is flexible too, because if you're inflexible, you're not going to be thinking about good solutions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really true. Yeah.
So
So there you go. That just made me feel a lot better. Because I just think it's so important.
got a little more clarity
I mean, I
there.
tell my kids it every time. If you could be comfortable with being uncomfortable, you're set.
Mhm.
Because that's life. Nothing, it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Every day something happens that turns you have to pivot, you have to go, all right, I just spilled
Mhm.
coffee, third-degree coffee all over my leg. That happened to one of my friends yesterday, and she literally had to sit it for 20 minutes, and had to wait, but she had to keep going,
Mhm.
and so like things like that happen. I don't drink coffee, but hot chocolate, if I I would drink that, it would hurt. And then what do? So that really is our job too. It's constant pivot.
I mean, when you're describing this, it's also like what we teach our clients, right? Is
100%.
to like we work with them to be more flexible so that they can handle things that occur in their life.
Very true. Like,
Yeah.
this is what I do, this is what I say, this is how I go, this is how I sit, and we're like, all right, well, we're not gonna do any of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Happens, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how it goes, and prioritizing. I mean, that's the thing that we keep telling each other too, is what's priority.
Mhm.
That helps to say, there's not really any fires going on,
Mhm.
or, oh wait, that one is a fire, but this stuff could go to the side, so I think that's important. I love all that. That was a really good, again, memory lane, like walking through
Mhm.
our memories. It was
Mhm.
beautiful, Nicole and Melissa.
Beautiful.
It was so beautiful. Well, so what else do you have to say, Melissa, about this lovely OBM? What else would you like to, what do you
I don't
think the
really
main
have much.
thing?
I mean, I think we kind of covered the main aspects of it. I think it's awesome. I think we're doing better of continuing to incorporate it. Um, I need to do better at looking at the book and bringing that to the
You
table.
need your book back.
Well,
I need to
that,
give
yeah.
it.
I mean, I have a Kindle one. It's just, I thought
Oh,
I was gonna want it in Kindle, and then I'm like, I don't know. I think I want to have both so that I have the option. I really wish it was on Audible, but he doesn't have an audiobook
they
yet.
don't have this on, oh, that would be
Yeah, that'd be
awesome,
convenient.
because
I tried. It's not there yet. I don't know if
yeah, it
it's-
has a lot of stuff in here. The uncoachable coach. Oh, right? Yeah, uncoachable coach. That's interesting.
Mhm.
And he really talks about how like sometimes we're all going to have aspects, and there's going to be times where we are all not good leaders. Like you're going to have a moment.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's the grace that I always talk about, because there's so much going on all over the place all the time, that's, again, getting to know somebody in that connection, because then when something's not typical. You're like, something's got up,
Mhm.
because I know that person and this is not, typically what happens. So again, I think that that's so important, and why connection is so important in building relationships, because then then you don't have to guess, because you're like, that's not, yep. So I think that's important. So I think we have kind of put it all together, and I didn't realize how much everything really overlaps, like completely. Because if I'm stuck on something, Nicole's like, whoa, we have this, well, I can't even think of something. What is it? The one that we were talking about with deregulation? No, what's it called about with that?
Oh, diffusion.
Diffusion.
Yeah.
we have diffusion exercises, you know, and then she talks about that and I'm like, oh, that would be awesome.
Mhm.
You know, so it really just complements, and I love the exercises and the lessons, because that's really where you learn. You
Mhm.
can talk about till you're blue in the face, but you
Yeah.
gotta do it.
Yeah.
So yay.
Nice.
I think that's it then. Thanks for joining us, Melissa. I appreciate it. I know you're busy, so we appreciate that, and we'll be seeing this in next week, and I don't know what the date is. Do we know what the date is?
I don't know what date, is it a Monday? Is it, when are you posting it?
It's a Thursday, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so you'll be
Seventh.
seeing this on with our Halloween stuff, because we're out a week. But I hope everybody had a good Halloween if you have fun with that, and we'll see you next time on the Scoop.